Welcome to another Proof is Possible Minute, everybody. Today we're going to talk about how to fail a test with grace. Now goes out especially to all my fall fast track black belts, but everyone in general. In fact, I just got a call yesterday from a woman who needs a duct tightness test, and her ducts have been installed. She's happy to move forward. She just needs to get this last thing checked off, and I wanted to let her know, just like I let all my clients know, that if this is the first time that this duct installer has ever been tested, it is very likely that the test will fail. That's the first step in making sure that you will fail the test gracefully and not with a whole bunch of stress and all that stuff. So I expect tests to fail, and that's one of the first things that you can do. The second thing you can do is prepare yourself for dealing with that. So in the case of a duct tightness test, for example, since we're using that as our analogy, I always bring my theatrical fogger with me so that I can pump fog into the ducts when they fail, and we can find out where all the leaks are, and everybody feels like, okay, we have a handle on the situation, this is all good. Also, when you get on site, you make sure that the independent verifier has been paid up front. That way they're not afraid to give you information that's good or bad, and they won't say, I need to go back to the office and do some calculations. There's no reason for that. The independent verifier should be able to turn to you immediately upon running the test and say, this test passed or this test failed. Now remember also that it's not about failing in life. It's not about failing as an installer or as an HVAC professional or as an insulator or a framer or whatever it is. It's about failing to meet specific quality standards that have been predetermined. That's the whole name of the game. So in this case, what this woman was calling me about was state energy code requirements. And the state energy code requirements are set in stone. One interesting thing is that if you're on the International Energy Conservation Code or some version of it, it says that the air changes per hour must be at or less than, for in our state, 5. For 2009 Energy Code, it would be 7. And for true, honest-to-goodness 2012 Energy Code, it would be 3. Now, it doesn't say 3.0. Likewise, Passive House standard doesn't say 0.60, it says 0.6. So in general, when I am about to run a test, in order for me to be able to immediately turn to my client and say, it's not meeting the standard that we set, or it is, I know exactly what the number is that will pass or fail. For example, in the case of a house in Illinois that has to meet 5 air changers per hour, what I'll do is enter in 5.49, because that will round down to 5. And then multiply that by the volume, divide by 60. And that gives me my CFM 50 that will need to be hit in order for us to pass this test. So not 5.0, just to make sure that that's clear. That's a little bit of a trick. If I go over 5.0, I let my client know that we're using a little bit of math trickery at this point. This is not the intent, I think, of what the people who wrote the energy code were meaning. I think they might have meant 5.0, but they didn't say that. And so it doesn't matter what they meant. At this point, we have what they wrote down. So in the future, they might be able to fix that. But in the meantime, the third thing that we can do, now that we have made sure that everybody knows that failure is possible, and that we have prepared and brought all the equipment and preparations for making sure that if we fail, we have a protocol for going through this next stressful step of finding out how we're failing. The third thing is for the installer. Now, in general, builders, HVAC installers, HVAC designers, mechanical engineers, all these people are sitting in their office listening to me say, we're going to be testing this stuff, and saying to themselves, I've been doing this for 40 years in some cases, or longer in some cases, and I know how to do this. I know my job. Why are we now testing things? And they might think to themselves, I build houses just like my dad did, just like his dad did. Or I install ductwork just like my grandfather did when he taught me. And although that's a nice thought, there is no possible way that you are doing that. No one in the world, except maybe in Tahiti or someplace like that, no one in the first world is building houses like our grandfathers did. It's just not happening. And it's because we are using new techniques, new materials, new types of subcontractors and the subcontractor agreements, and all of the things around the way you think about building or installing or designing anything to do with residential construction is different. So even though you might have the same intent, there is no possible way that you're doing things the same way that they used to do in the old days. So that leads to the next thing, which is, well, what is going on? And that is what the testing is for. So we're testing because we are all on a train, and the train has left the station. And we're all on it, whether we like it or not, and whether you know that you're on the train or not. No HVAC system is going to act the way that they did 10, 20, 30 years ago, because the enclosure is getting tighter and tighter. And so your HVAC system is going to interact differently with the enclosure, meaning it's going to perform differently, meaning it might not perform based on what's on the sticker, and that might not be your fault. It might be because of the enclosure. Likewise, the enclosure is going to be perfectly airtight, but if we don't tell the HVAC professional that, who's designing this stuff, then we don't know what's going on. And even within the same project, if the HVAC installer and the HVAC designer don't talk to each other, and the installer just installs what was on the plans, and the designer just did what they always did, that also makes no sense. And it's even gone so far as within one company, the people who design, the people who sell, the people who install, and the people who commission within the same company do not talk to each other. This is the problem. So the ultimate guide to failing gracefully is communication, making sure that you actually talk things out before you get into a situation that's very, very stressful. And I've been in enough situations that are very, very stressful with performance testing to know that if we just take care of this one thing and really talk things out, talk through all of the possible iterations of what might happen with the test and what might happen with the installation or the design, everything goes much, much smoother. So I hope that this has been informational for you. I hope that your next project goes much smoother because of performance testing and thanks to performance testing. I'm Corbett Lunsford. Tune in next time.